KaraokeBooks.
Candide. Audiobook. Written by Voltaire. Translated by Tobias Smollett. Chapter 8. Cunegonde's Story. I was in bed, and fast asleep, when it pleased heaven to send the Bulgarians to our delightful castle of Thunder 10 Tronc, where they murdered my father and brother, and cut my mother in pieces. A tall Bulgarian soldier, 6 feet high, perceiving that I had fainted away at this sight, attempted to ravish me. The operation brought me to my senses. I cried, I struggled, I bit, I scratched. I would have torn the tall Bulgarian's eyes out, not knowing that what had happened at my father's castle was a customary thing. The brutal soldier, enraged at my resistance, gave me a wound in my left leg with his hanger, the mark of which I still carry. Methinks I long to see it, said Candide, with all imaginable simplicity. You shall, said Cunegonde, but let me proceed. Pray do, replied Candide. She continued. A Bulgarian captain came in, and saw me weltering in my blood, and the soldier still as busy as if no one had been present. The officer, enraged at the fellow's want of respect to him, killed him with one stroke of his saber as he lay upon me. This captain took care of me, had me cured, and carried me as a prisoner of war to his quarters. I washed what little linen he possessed, and cooked his victuals. He was very fond of me, that was certain. Neither can I deny that he was well made, and had a soft, white skin, but he was very stupid, and knew nothing of philosophy. It might plainly be perceived that he had not been educated under drive. Pangloss. In 3 months, having gambled away all his money, and having grown tired of me, he sold me to a Jew, named Don Issachar, who traded in Holland and Portugal, and was passionately fond of women. This Jew showed me great kindness, in hopes of gaining my favors, but he never could prevail on me to yield. A modest woman may be once ravished, but her virtue is greatly strengthened thereby. In order to make sure of me, he brought me to this country house you now see. I had hitherto believed that nothing could equal the beauty of the castle of Thunder 10 Tronc, but I found I was mistaken. The Grand Inquisitor saw me one day at Mass, ogled me all the time of service, and when it was over, sent to let me know he wanted to speak with me about some private business. I was conducted to his palace, where I told him all my story. He represented to me how much it was beneath a person of my birth to belong to a circumcised Israelite. He caused a proposal to be made to Don Issachar, that he should resign me to his lordship. Don Issachar, being the court banker and a man of credit, was not easy to be prevailed upon. His lordship threatened him with an auto da fe. In short, my Jew was frightened into a compromise, and it was agreed between them, that the house and myself should belong to both in common. That the Jew should have Monday, Wednesday, and the Sabbath to himself, and the Inquisitor the other 4 days of the week. This agreement has subsisted almost 6 months, but not without several contests, whether the space from Saturday night to Sunday morning belonged to the old or the new law. For my part, I have hitherto withstood them both, and truly I believe this is the very reason why they are both so fond of me. At length, to turn aside the scourge of earthquakes, and to intimidate Don Issachar, my Lord Inquisitor was pleased to celebrate an auto da fe. He did me the honor to invite me to the ceremony. I had a very good seat, and refreshments of all kinds were offered the ladies between Mass and the execution. I was dreadfully shocked at the burning of the 2 Jews, and the honest Biscayan who married his godmother. But how great was my surprise, my consternation, and concern, when I beheld a figure so like Pangloss, dressed in a sanbenito and mitre. I rubbed my eyes, I looked at him attentively. I saw him hanged, and I fainted away. Scarce had I recovered my senses, when I saw you stripped of clothing. This was the height of horror, grief, and despair. I must confess to you for a truth, that your skin is whiter and more blooming than that of the Bulgarian captain. This spectacle worked me up to a pitch of distraction. I screamed out, and would have said, "Hold, barbarians," but my voice failed me, and indeed my cries would have signified nothing. After you had been severely whipped, I said to myself, how is it possible that the lovely Candide and the sage Pangloss should be at Lisbon, the one to receive 100 lashes, and the other to be hanged by order of my Lord Inquisitor, of whom I am so great a favorite? Pangloss deceived me most cruelly, in saying that everything is for the best. Thus agitated and perplexed, now distracted and lost, now half dead with grief, I revolved in my mind the murder of my father, mother, and brother, committed before my eyes, the insolence of the rascally Bulgarian soldier, the wound he gave me in the groin, my servitude, my being a cook wench to my Bulgarian captain, my subjection to the hateful Jew, and my cruel inquisitor, the hanging of Dr. Pangloss, the miserere sung while you were being whipped, and particularly the kiss I gave you behind the screen, the last day I ever beheld you. I returned thanks to God for having brought you to the place where I was, after so many trials. I charged the old woman who attends me to bring you hither as soon as was convenient. She has punctually executed my orders, and I now enjoy the inexpressible satisfaction of seeing you, hearing you, and speaking to you. But you must certainly be half dead with hunger. I myself have a great inclination to eat, and so let us sit down to supper. Upon this the two lovers immediately placed themselves at table, and, after having supped, they returned to seat themselves again on the magnificent sofa already mentioned, where they were in amorous dalliance, when Señor Don Issachar, one of the masters of the house, entered unexpectedly. It was the Sabbath day, and he came to enjoy his privilege, and sigh forth his passion at the feet of the fair Cunegund.
KaraokeBooks.